Shimi Noche, or Shiminos99, writes, so you guys have been doing Welcome to the Basement for just about 5 years, 100 episodes to be exact. I was wondering if doing this show has changed how you view movies in any way. A while ago I was talking about how I didn't know that there was such a thing as bad movies anymore, and I think I've sort of revised that idea.
You've revised it?
I've refined it.
Your original thought was that you didn't think that there was any such thing as a bad movie.
Because every movie gives you something.
So how did you refine it?
The thing about movies is that movies are fake.
Yes.
They're not real.
Even documentaries.
Even documentaries, because they take footage and they edit it together to tell a particular story and to put forth a point of view. I suppose if you look at it that way, the only true film would be one where the participants didn't know they were being filmed and didn't have a script.
Or something like Andy Warhol's Sleep. You just set the camera on something and there you go. Dash cam videos might be the only true form of cinema.
Oh yeah, there you go. So I think the degree to which a movie is good is the degree to which it makes you not notice or not care how fake it is. For example, Marty, which we watched on this show. When you were watching that, you got very invested in that story and that character. Somewhere in your brain, you believed it was real.
Yes, even though I know that Ernest Borgnine is a separate character from Marty, that day I was like, whoa, Marty.
So that's a good movie, because it allowed you to do that. All right, how do we wrap this up?
Was this your card?
I didn't have a card.
And whose is this?
My basement is littered with detritus.
Yes.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good, it might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. Recently, a lot of our viewers have been lamenting the fact that we've never watched a movie from Russia before. That is going to change tonight. The obvious choice would be Tarkovsky's Stalker, our most requested Russian movie, but that's about 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And so, it's not going to happen. But tonight's movie is a Russian classic, and I want you to mind those steps, because there's about to be a big ruckus aboard the Battleship Potemkin.
Well, dos Vodanya, my little Russian friends. I've seen this.
Released in 1925, directed by Sergei Eisenstein, this is the movie that pretty much all of the critics can agree on. It has a 100% freshness rating on RottenTomatoes.com. It was the favorite movie of legendary filmmakers such as Billy Wilder and Charlie Chaplin, and most importantly, it was named the greatest film of all time at the 1958 Brussels World's Fair.
That was my favorite World's Fair, 58 Brussels.
The Battleship Potemkin was banned in the UK for fear that it would cause working-class insurrection. It was finally released in 1954 with an X rating. I'm sure there were a lot of men in long overcoats who turned out for that movie and left disappointed. This restored version of the film contains more violence and a written introduction by Leon Trotsky, which was excised from most Russian prints after Stalin decided he didn't like Trotsky that much. Tonight's gift has absolutely nothing to do with this film and everything to do with you.
Me? I like me. It is a belt buckle from someplace called Krago.
Attention, sailor. Immediately report to the top deck of the old leather couch as we prepare to set sail on the Battleship Potemkin. It's a silent movie. Yeah, okay, we get it. We get it.
I have my porn name for this movie.
What's that?
Butts and Hips Potemkin.
Smeisenstein. Not familiar with his work. Eisenstein, I know.
People and worms, growing big as a house. Oh! The crew of the Battleship Potemkin sleep an uneasy sleep.
They're very comfy in their aerial silks. Gentlemen, we'll be performing Anchors Away on the main deck at 0500. I expect you all to be there. I don't know why I have a southern accent. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. There's a bunch of sailors who are routinely abused and pushed around by the officers.
Hello?
Channing Tatum, what are you doing here? You just get your... He looks exactly like him.
Channing Tatum's a vampire.
There's a revolutionary, the Kunshuk, who says we shouldn't stand for this, we should revolt.
I'm strong man. I make strength. I'm Pinhead.
Ensign Magic Mike reporting for duty. The sailors are further incensed when they see that their new ration of meat is all rotten.
They're like, we're not going to eat this crap. We'd be served better in prison, in Japan. Which is what Paul McCartney said when he was in prison in Japan. It's very comfortable.
Smirnoff, the ship's doctor, takes his little glasses and examines the meat, and he says, hey, those aren't worms in there. Quit being such a bunch of crybabies. This meat is fine.
Covered with as much brine as you want. Brine does not make it fit to dine.
You know, that doctor was really examining those worms. I guess you could call him Dr. Worm.
Oh, yeah. This is why I got the X rating right here.
The sailors are angry. In fact, impotent rage was overflowing. The rotten meat is made into crappy borscht.
But once dinner's ready, no one goes down to eat. So, I think this movie's famous for its dishwashing sequence.
Part 2, Drama on the Deck. Oh, I hope it's Long Day's Journey into Night.
No, they just do Chekhov on this boat.
Bosun Vanya. Commander Golikov calls all hands up on deck. I've been hearing stories about this borscht. Who among you is satisfied with the borscht? Bunch of people step forward.
But most of the crew, they hold back. Captain says, you know what, jerks? We're gonna kill you for insurrection. Get under this tarp.
If only you men were members of the Clean Plate Club. And he brings out the riflemen. He's gonna gun them all down.
Stop, don't move, and listen. Here comes Ice with brand new edition.
Do not go any further.
If we're gonna die, we should go down fighting.
It's time! Bruce Buffer was on that battleship. A weird holy man appears. He's like a Jesus wizard.
It's Saint Wishnik. But before the shots ring out, Kulnicek says, brothers, don't kill us. We're on the same side here.
Bros before borscht. The guns are dropped, and the men, led by Vakulnishuk, begin to mutiny. Sailors attack officers and throw them overboard.
So you had a Neptune for me.
Beat it, source. The Jesus wizard is thrown down the stairs. Jesus wizard. Get off that piano. Who do you think you are? What's the guy's name? Who do you think you are, Peter Allen?
When he said, who's that guy's name? Wouldn't I guess Peter Allen? Play When My Baby Smiles at Me, I Go to Rio. Peter Allen. Be played on stage by Hugh Jackman, Peter Allen.
Okay, now who's the Peter Allen nerd? Suddenly, Vakulnishuk is shot in the back of the head and he falls overboard.
And he dies.
The first victim of the insurrection. Oh, so they got a little boat now. They've left the battleship and they're sailing back to Earth. Back to Odessa. Part 3, the dead man calls out. Vakulnishuk is laid in state in a little tent on the shore. Now he is Velkoldnichuk, because he dead.
Put a little note on him saying, it's like, see what happens, I guess? I don't know what the note says. I can't read Cyrillic.
Alright, who's going to make a wish and blow out Velkoldnichuk?
Fleetwood Mac's rumors. They're going to go their own way now.
And thousands of people turn up to mourn him.
Polly, the weasel.
I like Biodome, but I did not care for Encino Man.
What do you talk about? Encino Man was good. It has Brandon Fraser.
I throw you overboard. The Polly Shore riots of Odessa were a dark day in Russian history.
People start speechifying. This isn't what being Russian's supposed to be all about.
We all need to rise up.
Down with trannies? That's not... Oh, tyranny. Okay. Eesh. You're not even supposed to use that word anymore. Come on, guys. Ah, nice.
Part 4, the Odessa Staircase. This is probably the scene that most of you are the most familiar with.
Hey, Potemkin, we're all on your side. Check out this big fleet of ships we made.
Like a white-winged flock. It is like Fleetwood Mac.
Just like a white-winged flock.
Sing songs out like we're singing. Smash the state. The Odessa Regatta started the day after the rebellious Potemkin returned to it. The Odessa Regatta. The prize is 7 borscht portions.
They still have all this revolutionary fervor, so they grab a bunch of food and they bring it out to the ship. See, that's the red flag. Get used to it. It's here with you until 1989. What? Cossacks. They're part of the Russian army.
And they start shooting. Everyone starts running down the Odessa staircase, and not in an orderly fashion. These people really should be holding the handrails. A woman's son is shot and trampled. She picks him up and she says, "Oh no.
My son's broken. I'm gonna take him back to the shop."
Well, the soldiers stepped over the dead body. That means they're not all bad.
What the hell, guys?
A mother is there with her baby carriage, and she is shot by the Cossacks. That baby carriage goes a-rolling down the Odessa steps, rolling and tumbling. That baby's not going to get any sleep today.
Yeah, that baby's a goner, too.
There she
I'm
is.
Mo Green! That woman's dead.
The guns of the Potemkin are aimed... Oh, not the Odessa Theater. Pauly Shore is there as we speak. And it is shelled. Part 5, Rendezvous with the Squadron. Oh, whoa, where did they all go? They were all taken up in the rapture.
But little do they know that there's another fleet, and it's not bringing food, it's bringing bullets and missiles. They're all coming to Odessa.
There's also an iceberg and a U-boat. We've gone into a wormhole. All hands on deck to prepare for battle. Things are loaded. Things are put on other things. There are cranks and levers. Lots of running up and down, ladders, and this thing. You know, I really like this naval battle sequence, but when are we going to see more dishwashing? That's what I really miss.
The Potemkin's surrounded.
The man on the board with the flags, he's signaling to the ship. He's like, "Are you with us or agin us?"
You rotten bastards.
They get ready to fire the guns. It's a tense moment. But suddenly they realize that those are their comrades, not their enemies.
We're all buddies.
The Battleship Potemkin sails through the squadron without firing a single shot.
Oh, they might have to wait another decade to be Soviets, but they have to wait 2 decades to watch the Battleship Potemkin and be like, hey, that guy, that was me.
So if this movie were a game of Battleship, you would set up the whole thing and then say, I don't feel like doing this anymore.
Yeah.
The Battleship Potemkin. We just barely made it out alive.
They were shooting. It was all so realistic.
Watching this movie, I felt like at times we were a little bored, but it's easy to forget the context of where cinema was at and how huge of a scope this movie had. By 25, the language of film had pretty much been invented. What do you think Eisenstein brought to the table?
Well, Eisenstein was not the first person to use editing or montage, if you prefer to be classy, but he was the best at it. That's what this movie is really, really known for. The speeding up of editing as the movie goes along, so you have long, drawn-out shots, and then once you get to the staircase, everything speeds up.
Fun fact about that staircase scene, that was not in the original script.
It wasn't.
They saw the staircase and they were like, hey, we should use that somehow. And they just came up with that whole scene just on set. The Odessa Steps scene is still very impressive. There's tracking shots in there. They had the vision to do that in 1925. Is very impressive.
How do you think you would react to this?
It was before the Red Scare. Mm-hmm. It was before the rise of fascism in Europe. So I think Americans who are very into liberty and democracy would be really excited about this. It's like, oh, these oppressed people are rising up, just like we did back in 1776.
You always want the oppressed to rise up. No matter what their ideology is, there's something thrilling about seeing the little guy take down the big guy.
Channing Tatum did a fine job in this. That guy is versatile.
He's in everything.
He really is.
Yeah, and always having to take off his shirt.
So the music score for this is a modern score, and that was Eisenstein's intent. He commissioned a score to be made for the original film, and he wanted the score to be rewritten every 20 years or so to keep it relevant and fresh.
Oh, I love the 70s version of this.
Isaac Hayes presents the Battleship Potemkin. Anything to say about the acting? I would say that it's less, presentational than a lot of acting at the period.
If I read the credits correctly, a lot of the guys are actual sailors. There you go. They're either going to be spot on or completely wrong when you hire the real people.
Final thoughts on Battleship Potemkin. You're not going to be causing a mutiny on this show now, are you?
Ernesto! To arms! Ernesto, wake up! God damn it. Next time.
Now go eat your rotten meat. No mutinies happening today here in the basement. But you can cause a ruckus of your own and go to our website, welcometothebasementshow.com. You can see all of our websites and our episodes there.
All one of our websites.
There's a PayPal donation button you can click on, and you can show your appreciation for this show by giving us a few dollars.
You can make a one-time donation, or if you want, you can make a rolling monthly donation.
You donate a little bit every month, just like Neon Wizard, Malcolm, Merlin, Danielle, and Luke. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
If you want to find out who the rest of our donors are and see the contents of our mailbag, you can watch Welcome to the Basement Unboxing this Friday. And now, comrades, it is time to shake off the yoke of your oppressors for Seen It!
Seen it!
We're going to take a trip to the cinema and talk about movies we saw at the theater.
That's right.
Jack is King 143 says, have you seen The Assassin? You should tell us about it, Matt. This is a scene that I kind of solicited from the viewers, and they were all too happy to oblige me. Yes, we have both seen The Assassin.
The press this movie was getting, I thought, we have to see this movie on the big screen. It's going to be coming up on the show. It's going to be coming up in the Oscars. And then nothing happened. Do you know why nothing happened? Because nothing happens in the movie.
This is not the slowest paced movie I've ever seen. It is the slowest paced movie ever made.
A Chinese medieval action movie that forgot to be an action movie.
I would have been very frustrated while watching this if I had not been so anesthetized by the whole experience.
There's a point in the movie where they just put cameras on goats.
I never saw that goats scene that you're talking about. I was in the middle of having the best nap I had had in a long time, and I couldn't help it. I could not stay awake, Craig.
All it had going for it was cinematography.
And you know what? A lot of people probably will listen to this and be like, oh, why don't you guys go watch The Avengers? Apparently you can't handle movies that have artistic merit that don't follow the pace of your Hollywood movies. But no, that's not the case at all. You can't just have pretty pictures up on the screen. If I'm going to see a movie, I want to see an engaging story, and I want it to have the pace that a motion picture of today has.
Yes.
I have no problem with slow-paced movies. We just watched Akira Kurosawa's Dreams. Very slow-paced at times, and I loved it.
Carrie Mathias writes, Seen it? Hail Caesar! I have heard a lot of criticism for this movie over the past few weeks, but I really liked it. Seen it.
The criticisms of this movie, I think, are somewhat valid. It makes sense because the premise of the movie is that it's a day in this guy's life. And so all this different stuff is coming at him. It doesn't necessarily all mesh with each other.
The movie wanders quite a bit, and I'm sure that the more I watch it...
And that's the point.
Yeah. You don't feel a lot of pressure on the situation that Brolin's going through and that Clooney's going through.
Okay.
It should have had more of a feeling as though he's trying to get there and he keeps being pulled off to fix Scarlett Johansson's problem and to figure Ralph Fiennes' problems and Hobie's problems, and he's still always trying to get to this one spot. The more I see this movie, I'm sure the more I'll like it.
Their movies are not always going to hit you on the same level, and they're not always going to appeal to the same group of people. They're always just throwing out different tethers and seeing who will grab onto them, and I think that's really their lasting legacy. Todd Evangelista writes, have you seen other early work by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis? 1941.
I have seen it in the theater back in 1980.
I saw it September 31st, 2006. Do you know how I remember this date? Because the very next day, I wrote about this movie on my now defunct MySpace blog. Recently, I journeyed into the Byzantine depths of the MySpace archive.
That's like going into a ghost town, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really weird. Everything's gray.
And I downloaded my old blog, so it's been rescued from obscurity. I just saw Spielberg's 1941, a little art house movie from 1979, and let me tell you, it is an overlooked gem. Every scene has someone screaming and then smashing something. Then something explodes. Then someone runs into the scene covered in dust. Something gets smashed and the screaming starts again. Dust gets all over everything. A man grabs a woman and shakes her. A tank runs over a merry-go-round. It's an extravaganza of screaming, arm-waving, bug-eyed, full-bodied screaming. It's an acting style that some might describe as broad, but I describe as great. They just scream and scream until something explodes, of course. Then there's a little bit of silence while everyone stands around covered in dust. I mean, the thing exploded, so I keep screaming, right? Right? And John Belushi's in it too. Sweating, screaming, smashing things. My favorite scene is when he screams at that one guy, and then that guy screams back, and then he smashes a thing, and then the world explodes. What a scene. What a movie. At the end, during the credits, they don't just show people's names, they show a close-up of their face from the movie, and they are all, you guessed it, screaming. Giving their best 1941 scream. And when I say best, I mean take your pick. I'm almost done. I know it's long. After the movie, I turned to Tona and I said, "This was Then she screamed and waved her arms. I heard a wall collapsing in the kitchen and our stove falling out of a hole and into the neighbor's hot tub. Clouds of dust billowed everywhere. A marching band ran screaming down the street, the last guy with a tuba stuck on his head. Yep, just another routine 1941 screening. Or should I say, screaming."
I was 6 years old. I really liked it. Alexander Herkenrath writes, "Have you seen Life is Beautiful or La Vita è Bella, 1997? I've seen it, Principessa."
Seen it in the theater.
In the theater.
When Life is Beautiful came out, America loved it. And then it won some Oscars. And then America hated it.
Some movies should just not win Oscars. Benigni did a great job in it. It is his great performance. But he beat Ian McKellen and Nick Nolte for Best Actor. And it's like, what the hell? How did that ever happen? We hate this movie forever now. Why are you making a comedy about the Holocaust? It's like, no, you like it because he pulled off making a comedy about the Holocaust.
Yeah, America embraced him and then kind of kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah.
To me, he's a very old comedy soul.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what he does really harkens back all the way to Commedia dell'arte, and he's a real solid comedian.
Yeah.
And he's a good actor. That's seen it.
Oh, and that's our show.
We watched the Battleship Potemkin. We took a little trip to the past and to the Russia.
I will not deny any word of that, except for the second "the."
We hope you had a good time, and we hope you'll join us again in June. I'm continuing to listen to the desires of the viewers. And another concern that they've had is the lack of animated films here on the show. Someone pointed out that we've only watched 5 in 101 episodes. 2 of them mixed live action and animation, and 1 of them was a short. That is going to be remedied in June, where we will be watching all animated feature films.
Nice.
You are going to pick both of them.
Yes!
June is your month, Craig.
It's my month and it's all cartoons all the time.
What will Craig choose for us? Well, you'll have to tune in and find out.
Excited.
Good night.
Good night.
He ho he ha 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 he.
Why did we turn into donkeys?